Okay, we're at 59 people here.
Okay, so I'll get started. Um, so, welcome again, everybody. This week, we're going to be looking at two groups of birds. The first one we're going to look at is birds that are in sort of old field habitats, shrubby areas, hedgerows. Um, Overlaps a little bit with things like song sparrow and that we did last week, but I had to sort them different ways. So this is one that everybody knows when they see it. This is an eastern bluebird, fairly common in the Ottawa area, not right in Ottawa. They like farmland, and they don't like real clean farmland. They have to have things like pastures where there's some a lot of small trees and that. And they also need holes or nest boxes for nesting. So they do better where there's been a people have put up nest boxes for them. They don't nest on our property. We're too forested, but we do see them in migration. So let's play a song. Very distinctive. Let's try another one. That's kind of a grouchy one. I'll go back here. Yeah. So it's those clear whistles. Um, there was a grasshopper sparrow in the background of that one, just saying once. But so those clear whistles, and they're fairly distinctive once you get used to them. But the thing that bluebirds nearly always do when they're singing, and I'll play this again, listen for the little chatter. They'll throw that little chatter in, and that's your tip off. And they nearly always throw that in between the whistled parts of the song. So that makes them quite easy to identify. Here's a call. Hard to hear. Um, do I need to turn the sound up a bit from my end?
I can hear you okay, Ken. I don't know about everyone else.
Yeah, I'll turn it up a little bit just in case. I found that one hard to hear. Let's try another. No, that's, yeah. So another call they do when they're migrating is similar to the song. It's just a little sort of a two-syllable whistle. And that's usually how I know they're at our place. I hear them flying over. Sometimes in the fall, when they're flying over in October, they're so high up I can't even see them, but you can hear the little whistles as they're going over. Another one that's found a lot in brushy areas or the edges of woodlands is gray catbird. Now, in just a minute, we're going to look at brown thrasher, and the quality is very similar. They're both mimids. They're in the same family as mockingbirds, and they all have similar sounding voices, but the patterns are different. So the catbird doesn't repeat anything. It just goes along sort of up and down, chattering away. I'll play another one or two. Now, I told you how the eastern bluebird couldn't resist throwing in those little chatters, and that's a tip to what you're hearing. Same sort of a thing applies to catbird. They always throw in their cat call. Let's hear it again. Let's try another one. So very up and down, sort of aimless. Little bit like a robin, not as clear. Always kind of, there's a lot of squeaks and things in it. And then eventually you hear that cat call. Let's see if they've got that separately. Not very loud. Don't hear that one much, but it is another call they do. That's the classic cat call. That's how they get their name. So that's catbird. Um, I didn't really talk about how to identify eastern bluebird, did I? Um, but anyway, catbird, all gray, or just about all gray, fairly long tail. All the mimids have long tails. Mockingbirds and brown thrashers even longer. Sort of a slender, slightly down curved bill. Um, Almost plain gray, as I say, but they have a black cap, as you can see here. And under the tail, let's see if there's a better picture of it. I can see it a bit here. Under the tail, they have a dark orange or chestnut patch of color. Let's see if I can find a better one. No, well, that one's from below, but the color is still not very good. Yeah. Anyway, um, you can see it here. But that and the black cap confirm if you think you've got a catbird. I talked about brown thrasher. It's in the same family. I didn't include mockingbird in this course because they're not that common around our part of Ontario. So, but let's look at a brown thrasher. So you'll see the build is very similar to the catbirds, but they look completely different. They're rusty brown all over the top, two white wing bars, and streaks on the underside. Um, Next week, we're going to be looking at some of the thrushes. Thrushes have spots, brown thrashers have streaks, but they also have a very long tail, the same sort of slender bill, and that bright yellow eye with the black pupil in it. So let's listen to one. Do you hear how he repeats most of his notes? Doubles them. So not every note, but a lot of the notes will be doubled. And that, when you hear that, you've got a brown thrasher. Let's listen to a different one. That's a very typical Eastern Ontario brown thrasher. This one was actually recorded in along Klondike Road in Marble Forest. Let's see if they have some calls. Actually, yeah, that loud snap, sort of like a kiss note. Usually do that when they're alarmed. Usually means you're near a nest or there's a predator around. Yeah, a few birds in the background there. Yeah, that same kiss note. So I'll play one more song. Just listen for the doubling. So they've transcribed it here as drop it, cover it up, pull it up, pull it up. So everything doubled. Not everything doubled. That's not quite right because they will throw in single phrases too, but there'll always be lots of doubling. Another one that's usually in shrubby areas and along woodland edges. Next one I wanted to look at this week is field sparrow. Um, they call it a field sparrow, but don't expect to find one in a field, not an agricultural field. They're like the thrashers. They're usually in an old field situation. Old field just means a pasture that's reverting to woodland slowly. So lots of shrubs and young trees. The field sparrows like a fair bit of open, but they do like to have some shrubs and things. Cedar glades along the edge, between a forest and a meadow, are commonly used. To identify one by sight, they're a rather plain looking little sparrow, but they have a rusty cap, but they don't have the black line through the eye and the bright white eyebrow that a chipping sparrow would have. And always look for the bright pink bill. Let's get another picture just to see if you can see that. Yeah. So again, here's another one. Bright pink bill and the white wing bars. This one's very gray looking. It's from Montana. They're grayer than our eastern ones. Ours are browner than that, but this is a fairly typical one. Lots of brown on it. Oh, and I also this white eye ring. Look for that. The song is really distinctive. You really can't confuse them with much. Just gotta find my cursor here. Here we go. Let's get another one. You'll hear that different birds sound just a little different. The really distinctive thing is the pattern. It's described here as sound, the rhythm is like dropping a ping pong ball on a table. So it starts out fairly slow, you know, and then speeds up in a crescendo. So very distinctive. Oh, hush. Um, Song sparrow is the next one we're going to look at. This is probably about our commonest sparrow. Chipping sparrows can be quite common in residential areas, but song sparrows are found in any area that's got shrubs and brush and low cover. You don't find them in forests. You can find them in your yard if you have enough hedges and shrubs. Um, just a little streaked brown sparrow, quite a gray face, very heavily streaked on the underside, and nearly always has this dark, what we used to call a stick pin. Nobody wears stick pins anymore because we don't wear ties, but just a little cluster of dark forming a spot in the middle of the streaked chest. Let's get another picture. Yeah, this is a better picture. So again, the white tummy belly, but streaks on the chest and upper belly, and this dark stick pin. Always look for that. Song is really distinctive once you get used to it. I find it's a very hard song to describe, but I'll play a couple of different ones here for you. Oops. Let's get another one. So you'll notice each one has its own slightly individual song, but the pattern again is very similar. Starts out with a couple of squeaky notes, goes into a twitter, and then into a sort of a trill at the end. Let's try one more. Learn that song. You'll hear it a lot. Um, Song sparrows are common and they sing well into the summer. A lot of birds start to quiet down by the middle or end of June. Song sparrows will keep singing. What do I want now? Oh, white-throated sparrow. Yeah, I've put this in with the species of brushy areas, which is true. White-throated sparrows also like that, but you'll hear them in forests as long as there's some clearings in that where they have some low cover. Not sure what those streaks are. We'll get a different picture, I think. Oh, I don't know what. Oh, maybe I've made them when I was mucking about there. Huh. I didn't notice them earlier though. Okay, well, we'll ignore them for now. Um, I can get rid of them. Oh, there. No, it's still there. Okay. This is white-throated sparrow. Um, Gray chest, brown on the flanks, two white wing bars, brown on the back, and a white throat, and black and white stripes on the head with a yellow mark in front of the eye. In migration, we get white crowned sparrows. They breed much further north. They don't have the white throat and they don't have the yellow spot, and they tend to be much grayer, but they have very bright black and white markings on the head. I'm just going to take a quick look here and see if they've got, yeah. Here, this is something you often see. They can have black and white marks on the head, or they can have the sort of tan color. It's not a sex difference. It's they're both color morphs are common in most populations. I was reading somewhere recently that the color morphs tend to mate. They sort themselves by mating with the other color morphs. So this tan one will prefer to form a partnership with one that's got the black and white. Anyway, let's listen to a few songs. And in Canada, this is usually transcribed as something like pure sweet Canada, 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 Canada. Let's listen to a few more because they do vary a bit. You probably won't hear them right in the city, but as soon as you get out into some more wooded areas where there's some shrubby pastures and things, you'll start to get them. They don't breed at our place, as far as I know. I don't think we have enough low cover. I hear them in migration. Oh, that's a call. That's a loud chip that they do. It's somewhat distinctive, but there's other things that do loud chips, so you kind of have to get used to them. Another call. Yeah, that's the chip again. So two different ones there. There was a common snipe winnowing in the background there. Um, so the song is pretty much instantly identifiable once you've heard it a few times, even though they vary a little bit. Indigo bunting is the next one I wanted to do. Those spots are annoying me. I'm going to go out, and I don't know how I got those there, but I don't like them. I'm going to stop the share. Okay, so I've got rid. It was something. Okay, am I still sharing, or did I lose it?
No, you
No,
lost.
you're not.
Okay, I'm not sharing.
You're not.
Okay, I'll get it back. Um, Um, have I lost my hosting privileges too?
Let me just check, Ken. No, you're still a co-host.
Okay, okay. I'll just I'll share this again then. Sorry about that. So I at least got rid of those silly blue lines. I must have somehow done them when I was moving my cursor around, but I've never done it before, so I didn't know how to get rid of it. Indigo bunting. If you see them out in the sun like this, unmistakable. The males. Bright blue, deep blue, indigo, basically. Very dark blue with black in the wings and tail, and the beak is also pretty much black. That's great as long as you see them in the sun. One thing you should know is that when they're sitting up against the sun or against the sky, they're very tiny birds, chickadee sized, and they can just look black. I don't imagine they'll have one that looks like that here. Oh, anyway, this is another good thing to know. Yeah. So just know that when they're backlit, they can look plain black. Blue is not a pigment in birds. I don't think any bird has blue pigment. All blue birds have blue because of structures in the feathers that reflect sunlight as blue. So if the light isn't coming out at the right angle, they can look black. Just like the ruby throat on a hummingbird can look black if he's not getting the light right, because that's also an iridescent structural color. Female indigo bunting here. Often I've heard it called the bird that has no field marks. Tiny, like the male, chickadee size or smaller, looks a little bit like a sparrow. If it has any streaking on the breast, it's very, very light and not very noticeable. The best mark is just the very plain brown with two brownish wing bars. Fortunately, you usually see them when they're with males, so that helps. But they're usually more in cover than the males are. So let's listen to one or two. American crow, mourning dove. Um, so it's transcribed here as sweet, sweet, trick, trick, trick. So it's that, listen for those sweet notes at the beginning. And it's quite a short song. We're going to look at American goldfinch in just a minute. And that can be I sometimes find them a bit tricky to tell apart, but the American goldfinch goes on much longer. Let's listen to one or two more indigo buntings. We'll come back to it. That one doesn't have as emphatic a beginning. So just five or six notes. Let's go to goldfinch. So male goldfinch. Easy to tell, bright yellow, at least in breeding plumage, yellow, black wing bars with black wings with white wing bars and a little black cap and a black tail. Um, just remember that in the winter, they look like the female, which is green and gray. Um, this is an adult female in breeding plumage. In the winter, they get quite gray and grayish green looking, but the pattern's like this. They still have the black wings with the white wing bars, but they're more greenish. The call notes are similar. We'll get to call notes in a second. Let's listen to another song. So You hear those twitters, which are a little bit like the start of the indigo bunting, very similar in quality, but it goes on and on. Let's get another one. That's not a super typical one. They usually vary it more than that. Let's get some calls. So those are flight calls that tit 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 kind of springy, bouncy. If you think of a goldfinch in flight, they usually fly. Um, they'll their flight is very swooping, so they'll be sort of bouncing up and down as they fly. The call when they're singing is when they're flying is somewhat the same. Um, let's try a different one. Here's another call. That's a very common call, that kind of pee-wee call. Um, Similar quality, kind of bouncy. Let's get a song again. That's a short one. I would probably have to listen to that one for a bit to tell it from an indigo bunting. Yeah, they just go on and on with that series of twitters. Um, Now you've just heard that. Let's bounce back to the indigo bunting just for a minute and listen to that again. Quality is quite similar, but just 5 or 6 notes. So the brevity is a field mark. Just see if they got some calls here. They have a call that's somewhat distinctive, if they have it. Doo, doo, doo. Yeah. A little that one's very excited. It's probably because there's somebody recording it and making it nervous. Okay, that's the ones that are in old fields and shrubs and hedgerows. We're going to finish up with a few forest species. And these are all birds that are, well, I shouldn't say, we'll talk about them as they go, mostly in forests. Ruffed grouse. Everything we've heard so far the last 2 weeks, we've been listening to vocalizations. This is not a vocalization. They use their wings, they drum with their wings to make that sound. So it's and then they speed it up as it goes on. This is actually a male doing his drumming display with his wings. They like to get up on a log so they have good clearance for their wings, and and then they'll do that drumming sound. Let's listen to another one. That wasn't him. There's a robin making a lot of noise there. Very distinctive. It can kind of sneak up on you. I often find that I kind of feel it in my chest before I realize it's a noise. It's just so deep that it hits you almost as a mild shock wave going through your body. Um, this is a male. There's not much difference. The males have. I didn't mean to do that. The males have. Um, I'm not even sure. I'm not sure if that's a male or female. Yeah, here's a. This is a male. I'm not sure why he's sitting on eggs, but well, they're calling it a female. Okay. I was going to say the males have the black ruff, but maybe that's not even 100%, so I'll let it go. You do get different colors. Some of them will be very red in the tail. Ours tend to be quite gray. More further south, they get redder birds, but the patterns are always the same. Um, oh yeah, get these two out of the way. American crow. I know you all know what a crow sounds like. Just loud caws. Um, just I don't know, yeah. Just see if they've got a young bird, because they can sound a bit nasal.
Young birds sound like fish crows to me.
Yeah, that's a young bird, juvenile, very nasal. And Janet's right. They do sound a bit like a fish crow. I didn't include fish crow. They don't breed in Ontario yet, as far as I know. There might be a couple of pairs. Um, the closest population that seems to be somewhat stable is in Kingston. I've never hunted them up there, but you can hear them there. Um, they have that nasal quality like that juvenile crow. I'll play it again, just but it's long, like the caw of an American crow. Fish crows, I haven't got it teed up here. I can get it up later if we want to listen to one. Um, it's much briefer and it's quite often paired. So what I usually think of is something like almost like a very loud white-breasted nuthatch. They can do or single, I said, but the nasal quality is there, but the shape of the call, the duration, and that is still quite different.
Here, I have it up, Ken. Just a second, I'll turn it up.
Will we be able to will we
Can you
be able
hear
to
it?
hear it though? No, it's not
Oh,
coming through here.
okay.
I'll get it. It'll just take
Okay.
me a actually I'll get it at the end because then I can after we've done our quiz, I'll play it and then I won't have to go back into my
Okay.
teed up species here. Um, the one people always ask about is how to tell ravens and crows apart. By call, it's pretty easy. Here's a raven. Here's a raven. Oh, select. Yes. Let's get a few different ones. Even individual birds can do a lot of different calls. That's two ravens talking back and forth to each other. That's another call, that bell-like note. Those are all ravens. Um, I'm going to play that one again. Just listen to this tape because there's quite a variety of calls in it, and they're all ravens except for the it sounded like a black-throated gray warbler or something at the end. I don't know if you're noticing here, but one thing I notice with ravens is you can if they're even if they're 100 feet up, you can hear the wings. There's a sort of a woof, woof, woof from the wings. Just you'll hear it as in this next little bit. There, there's the wings again. Very variable. Even individual birds can do most of those calls. It isn't just different birds have different calls. It's very variable. I'll get to you in a minute, Samvath. Um, oh yeah, let's just go back to the crow for a minute. It's pretty plain compared to the raven. No, that's not what I want. Why am I not? Crow. There we go. Let's try a couple more. And then there was that juvenile again. Just don't be fooled by that one. I should talk just a little bit about identification by sight. This is a crow. Um, let's see if we can get a better. Yeah, the beak is relatively small, at least compared to a raven's beak. Um, a crow is much smaller than a raven. By weight, they're about half the size. Trouble is, they're both big black birds, and if you don't see them together, size isn't always helpful. Yep, I see your hand, Sam Bath. I'll get to you in a minute, okay? Um, let's look at a raven. So this is a really typical raven. Um, very heavy looking bird, long wings, long tail. And I'm going to check and see if there's a flight shot. In flight, the crow has a tail that is just rounded. A raven has a tail that is almost pointed. It's kind of wedge shaped. Um, it's not really obvious in this one, but they also have quite a shaggy throat. He's gotten kind of smoothed down here. The beak, if you see one well like this, the beak is the giveaway. The upper mandible actually curves down at the end. The beak isn't hooked, but it looks like it's working on it. And ravens are really a pretty high-ranking predator and carrion feeder. I'll see what else they got in the way of pictures
They
here.
also do a lot more soaring
Yes.
than crows
So here's
do.
the flight shot. You can see that fan-shaped or wedge-shaped tail, heavy beak. Janet's absolutely right. Flight is actually, you can tell a raven from a crow by the flight behavior pretty much as far away as you can see one. Um, Ravens always make me think of a hawk, an all black hawk. They fly like a hawk. They'll even fly in a soar with their wings up at an angle, a bit like a turkey vulture. They're just um, they're just a lot better flyers. Um, Ravens will just slice through a wind. Crows will fight a wind. They'll be flapping madly trying to deal with the wind blowing them. Raven couldn't care less. They just flap right through it. They'll even soar through it. They just got that big, heavy beak and head. They just slice. Okay, Sambath, what have you got there? You'll have to unmute yourself for a minute.
This is the photo of a raven I saw in front of my
Okay.
house.
Yeah.
And one more thing is, ravens have more bristles on top of their beak
They
than
do, but you have to get a really good look to see that. Yeah,
crows don't have that much of the ruff on their neck.
that's right. I'll see if one of these pictures shows that better because all the ones I've shown, you can see it a little bit in this one. This is a pretty, the other place they're shaggier is in the upper leg here. This shagginess where it goes into the bare leg, but always the heavy beak. That one doesn't really show it either. Well, there you can see the shaggy throat. Yeah. And shaggy here too. And the long wedge-shaped tail. Very long wings. In flight, I'll go back to that one if I can find it. Yeah. In flight, this is actually because of the angle, it's not as obvious, but the wings always look a little bit pointed. Just part of being more of a hawk in its behavior. Crows have very blunt wings, wide spacing between the primary feathers. Okay, that's crows and ravens. I was going to skip them, but I get a lot of questions when I'm leading walks and that from people about how to tell crows and ravens apart, so I decided to include them. Crows, ravens. Oh, yeah, brown creeper. So this is brown creeper. Very small, at least as small as a chickadee. Completely different build. You nearly always see them stuck on the side of a tree, like a woodpecker, but much smaller than any of our woodpeckers. Just little brown streaky birds. The underside is not streaky. The throat is quite white and sort of grades into a bit of a cinnamon color on the belly. A fairly prominent eyebrow over the eye with a dark cheek patch that kind of includes the eye. The beak, I'll see if there's one that you can see the beak better. Yeah, the beak is quite long and slender and down curved. So they make their living by going up the bark and they'll spiral up a tree, almost like a mouse going up a tree. They have quite stiff tail feathers so they can brace themselves against the tree like a woodpecker does. But they don't peck, they probe. So they'll go in, stick their beaks in, and look for little insects and insect eggs and cocoons and things under bark. They even build their nests under loose bark on the side of a tree. Let's listen to a song or two. So that's the song. I'm going to get a call because you hear the call a lot more. Not getting much there. Let's see if I can get a better one. Yeah, hear those very high-pitched calls? Trying to find a bit of a more typical one. Ah, there we go. Oh. Let me get that one. Oh, here. I'll let it play a bit. That very high pitched, lispy song, a call. That's the typical call you hear when they're just feeding on a tree. And it's good to learn that call because you hear a lot more brown creepers than you see if you're listening for them, because they can be quite hard to see till they fly. So they'll spiral up a tree feeding, and then they'll drop down and swoop down and land near the bottom of another tree and do the same thing. So if you can catch them when they're doing that flight and see where they land, you can get a good look at them. They're not terribly shy. So that's the call, that high-pitched squeak. Let's do a song. So the song is also very high-pitched. They start singing fairly early in the spring because many of them winter here. So by the end of April, you can hear these singing. And when I first hear one in the spring, maybe not so much now because I hear them all the time where I live because I'm in the woods. But I used to always hear them late April and I go, oh, what kind of warbler was that? Oh, that's the call again. That's not very loud. Here. So you'll hear those same lispy, high-pitched notes in the song, but they run them together into a short song, just 4 or 5 notes. It's pretty distinctive, but most people haven't learned to listen for it. So if you learn to listen for it, you'll find them a lot easier. It's one of those birds that are easier to find by song or call than by seeing it. Oh yeah, scarlet tanager, common woodland bird around Ottawa. Um, the call is pretty distinctive. Um, I'm going to do rose-breasted grosbeak in just a minute because it's also a forest bird, and the pattern of the song is very similar, but the quality is different. So listen to the scarlet tanager. So a bit of a robin quality, but you'll hear it described as like a robin with a sore throat because it's got a little bit of a burr in it, a bit of a raspy quality. And the notes are all run together. A robin does things in phrases, so ups and downs, sort of cheerio, cheer up, and with little pauses in between. The tanager doesn't have the pauses. Let's try a different one. Always that burry quality, almost buzzy. Just going to get a call. Call is really distinctive. Okay, that's half of the call. You'll hear that sort of chirp like that. Um, it's not the easy way to recognize it. So I'm going to see if they have the whole call here. There we go. A mix. Yeah. I'm going to start this one over again. So the first one is the full call. So it's like it's a chipper. Hear that 2-note call? Chipper. You do get the single chip too, but it's not as recognizable. But that chipper is completely distinct. There's nothing close. As far as identifying a scarlet tanager, if you see a male in breeding plumage, in full sun, you can't mistake them for anything. Red body, black wings and tail, and a sort of gray beak. Um, just really distinctive. Um, they'll have a female here. Here's a female. Um, yeah, adult. So this is a female. They also have darkish wings, but they're not bright black like the male. So it's the build and everything is just like the male, but it's green instead of red. Tanagers have a fairly heavy beak. So you'll see a green bird up in a tree and you'll think, oh, what kind of warbler is that? But they're bigger than a warbler and the beak is much heavier than a warbler beak. Might have a young male here. Let's see. Female breeding. Yeah, okay. Just wondering if they had a winter male. Well, I suppose they might. I wouldn't notice. Yeah, they seem to have mostly breeding males. So here's either a young male or a young male or a winter male, non-breeding anyway. So we saw the female has darkish wings, but they're not black. Whereas I think this is probably, yeah, it is. It's an immature. So he's still got some sort of brownish wings, very similar like to the female, but he's getting more black. So this is a young male just getting his black wings. He won't get his red until towards breeding season. They spend a lot of their time up high in trees. Every now and then we'll get one right down on the ground picking up something, but often way up in the trees. So it's really helpful to learn the song. I'll play a song again. So just listen for that little buzz in a robin-like song. Now the next one I'm going to go to is rose-breasted grosbeak. Rose-breasted grosbeak. That is not a rose-breasted grosbeak. I'm picking up. I didn't select it. That's what's happened. That was a tanager. What's this about now? There you go. So you'll notice that the tempo of the song is very similar to a scarlet tanager. Everything's run together. But it hasn't got that buzzy quality. Let's listen to it again. Right at the beginning of this tape, you'll hear a call. Or not. So the song is pretty identifiable. It's also somewhat robin-like, but without the pauses. It's sometimes described as a robin that's taken singing lessons. It's more musical. And it goes on all run together. I heard some call notes in there, but I'll find a call because it's also very distinctive. Yeah, you hear it there. It's a sort of a tink. See if they got a better one. That's it. And you'll hear that call a lot if you're in rose-breasted grosbeak habitat. They like forests, especially sort of near the edge, but doesn't have to be in the edge. They're all through our woods. I probably hear them more around the pond where there's some clearings and that, or around the yard, but um, and they don't seem to like really mature forests. They like a lot of young trees. But you'll hear those call notes a lot. And when they're here breeding, you'll hear them singing a lot. And we have many pairs on our property, so we hear them all spring singing, calling. This is
The
a
call,
male.
yeah,
Sorry.
the call note is often described like a sneaker on a gym floor.
Yeah, it's a squeak,
Yeah.
quite a loud squeak. I'll play it again here. There it is. Pink. I don't think I'd heard that description before, Janet, but it's good. It works. It is very much like that. Yeah. The males are easy. Um, they have the bright red triangle on the chest, which is why they're called rose-breasted grosbeaks. We'll get a picture that shows. Well, that's a female. We'll come back to her. Here's a male that shows more. Always the red triangle. A bright, almost white beak, quite pale beak. The beak is it's a very finchy beak. It's a seed cracking beak. It's in the same family as cardinals, so it's got that cardinal beak. It's just pale instead of orange. Um, a lot of black on the head, black down the back, with white in the wings. Quite a few, some wing bars and white patches in the wings. Yeah, we'll go back to that female. The female looks nothing like the male. The build is the same. She's got the cardinal beak, um, but she just doesn't have any of the color patterns completely different. If you haven't seen one before, when you first see one, you're going to think, what kind of sparrow is that? They're much bigger than any of our sparrows. Rose-breasted grosbeak is smaller than a robin, but it's still it's much larger than sparrows or chickadees or any of those. It's got a fairly long tail, streaked undersides with a bit of a buffy wash across the chest, two white wing bars. They're a bit speckled here, but there's two white wing bars, and these bright white stripes on the brown head with a white throat, but always that cardinal bill. So if you see a really streaky looking bird, especially with white stripes on the head with a really heavy bill, think about rose-breasted grosbeak. I think I've only got one more for tonight. Yeah, purple finch. We did house finch last week, but this week we're going to do purple finch. So this is a male, bright raspberry red on the head and chest and down the back and on the rump. Again, a fairly heavy finch bill. These are in the same family as goldfinches and crossbills and evening grosbeaks. So they all have the heavy finch bill because they're all seed eaters. Very bubbly song. Now, we did house finch last week. They're quite similar. They're close relatives. But house finches have more harsh notes, sort of raspy notes thrown into theirs. Almost like if you crossed a purple finch with a catbird, quite raspy. If we have time, I'll play the two of them at the end. But before we do that, well, I should ask for questions. I haven't been paying attention to the chat. Have there been any questions in the chat, Janet?
We've had a few that have been answered,
Okay.
where to find them mostly. And
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. Purple finches are a forest bird, but they also like sort of along the edge, not real heavy forest, probably. mature forest, but most of our forests have enough breaks to attract purple finches. Okay, if there's no questions, I'll go to the quiz. See how we do this week. Yeah, I covered it. Proceed to quiz. I'm going to suggest if you think you know, just say it. No takers? I'm going to take a guess here. I think it's indigo bunting. Yeah. So a bit like a goldfinch, but very brief. Let's try another one. Oh, this is one of the later ones we did. This is a forest bird. Yeah, just unmute yourself and say it, Samvath.
Brown creeper.
Very good. Yep. Let's see if you're right. I'm pretty sure you are. Yep. Good. Okay. We're 2 for 2 so far. Just tell me, Samvath.
Fields song sparrow or field sparrow.
Yeah, it's song sparrow. Field sparrow is quite different. It'll come up too, and you'll hear the difference again. That was song sparrow. I gotta find it here. There it is. Oh,
Ruffed grouse.
yeah. Okay, good. Let's see if you're right. Yep.
Indigo bunting.
Nope. It's that's not actually a bad guess, but it's too warbly to be an indigo bunting. And indigo bunting is more squeaky notes.
Rose-breasted grosbeak.
Oh, maybe I better play it again. I'm pretty sure it was purple finch. Let's see. Oops, I didn't. Yeah. You hear it? Hear how warbly it is?
Like a robin with a sore throat.
Yeah. Anybody besides
Catbird?
Janet? Sorry?
Catbird.
No.
Beth,
like the
Beth
robin with
and
a sore
Peter
throat.
have it. Beth and Peter have it. Beth
Okay.
Jennings and
What?
Peter have it.
Okay, so that's scarlet tanager. Sounds a bit like a robin with sore throat.
Raven.
No, there was a young crow it's a crow. There was a young one at the beginning that kind of probably threw you off a bit. That's crow, just the cause.
This is a crow. Wait, I think
Field sparrow.
Field sparrow,
Bluebird?
somebody said? That's right. Yeah. Like the ping pong ball. Beep, 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 beep. Quite a while since we did this one.
Catbird.
Oh,
Goldfinch.
Hear the little chatter in there?
Bluebird.
That's right, eastern bluebird.
Oh, Canada.
Pure sweet Canada,
Field
Canada,
sparrow.
Canada.
Field sparrow.
No,
White-throated sparrow.
white-throated sparrow. Good, thank you.
Goldfinch.
I think so. Let's check. I'm pretty sure you're right. Yep.
Raven.
Raven, yes. Common raven. They were getting quite chatty here a few weeks ago, but I think they're all sitting on eggs now or even feeding young birds. So they breed early. So they're pretty quiet these days. Robin quality.
Purple finch.
No. Like the robin with singing lessons.
Yeah.
Rose-breasted grosbeak.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah. It's putting in some call notes to tell you what he is.
Catbird.
That's right. Gray catbird.
I think there was a mourning dove in the background.
Yes, there was. Yeah. It's pretty hard when you're making sound recordings to just get the bird you want. There's a lot of different birds in the background of just some of these.
Brown thrasher.
That's right. Good.
I know
Bonjour,
that it's
Diane.
repeated it.
Yep, saying everything twice.
Creeper or thrasher?
What's that, Sambeth?
Creeper or thrasher?
Yeah, that was brown thrasher. It's doing everything twice and very loud. Creepers are usually, well, they sing fairly loudly, but different habitats too, but it's hard to tell that from the call, isn't it? Everything double, or nearly everything double.
Burnt Lands,
Sorry?
Burnt Lands Provincial Park is usually good for its brown thrasher.
Yes. We've actually had this one before already. That was Eastern Bluebird. Your little chatter, little that's your tip.
Crow?
Yep, that was common American crow. Uh, Maybe we've had all the species now, have we? Starting through again. Did we have an indigo bunting? I think we did way back
did.
near the beginning of the quiz,
Did,
eh?
did we have a scarlet tansy?
Yes, we did have it once. There was something I was going. There was something I was going to go back to. I said I. Oh, fish crow. Okay, so we'll. I'll go back here. Oops, this isn't really where I wanted to go, but we'll do it. Come on. Manage this. That's what I wanted. Um, we'll just get out of the quiz. I don't want just no, I didn't get rid of it. Oh, hush up. Manage this. Oh, I know what I'd have. I have to exit. I have to exit the quiz. That's what I have to do. No, I did exit the quiz, but I'm still locked in my little box here. Oh, there we go. That's what I wanted. Oh, hush. Fish crow we wanted to hear, eh? Doody 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 doo. So here's fish crow. Let's get another one or two. Just so you hear the nasal quality, but quite a short call. We'll just do that juvenile American crow again. So you really have to listen to quality and pattern. Quality is like the fish crow, but the pattern is completely different. Here's the fish crow again. That's a juvenile.
The call is so much shorter, eh?
Yeah,
Very,
yeah. Almost,
very
it sounds, it always, it makes
sharper.
you think a little bit of a white-breasted nuthatch, but of course much more powerful, and usually doubled. I'm not going to bother telling you how to tell fish and American crows apart by visual because I'm lousy at it. I always wait for a call if I'm in fish crow range. And they can be mixed together. They are quite a bit, they are significantly smaller, but uh, it just isn't, for me, it isn't safe. If you're on the coast, east coast of the United States, down, New York, Virginia, or something, and you have a crow on the coast, on the beach, it's probably fish crow, but listen for it to be sure. The locals may get so they can tell them apart. I don't know. I've never managed it. I've never been in the range enough. I was going to give you a chance to hear um, house finch and purple finch together. So here's purple finch that we listened to tonight. And here's house finch. Similar pattern, similar quality, but more of those sort of less musical notes. Let's get another one. Boy, that's really a nasty one. I would probably have a real problem with that. I'm not, if I just heard that, I would have trouble with that one. You can hear a few of the sort of Z notes in it occasionally, but habitat can help a lot. We never have house finch at our place. We've never had one. We have purple finches all the time in breeding season. Let's get another one just to We'll go back to purple finch. Just more musical. Maybe like a house finch who's had singing lessons. Are there any other questions or something else you'd like me to go back to? We have
I'll just note that the purple finch, the females are so much stripier than the males.
that's a good thing. I should have shown a female of both. I don't think I did even show a female.
Also, the culmen on the purples are curved.
Yes. So if you look, what Janet's saying is the culmen is the upper line of the upper beak, upper mandible, and in purple finch, it's got kind of a curve to it. It's more of a finchy type bill, almost a bit like a parrot, not as extreme. I just wanted to get a female. Surely they've got one. Ah. Females look like a giant sparrow, but with a very heavy finch beak. The one I usually look for is the very dark streaking, but the best mark is this very white eye line over the eye and a dark cheek patch, and then a white, this is a malar stripe here, this white. So that combination with the very prominent contrast between the white above and below and the dark cheek patch is pretty good. Again, you can see the curved culmen here on the beak. Now we'll go back to house finch. And you'll see here, this isn't as typical maybe as some. Yeah. Now, this one's actually quite curved. I might have even had those the wrong way around because I think the
Yeah, I
house
think
finch
it's
is actually,
it's the in-between part.
yeah. So anyway, this is
See that straight
also,
there?
yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. This, yeah. Okay. So this division, the edge of the upper mandible is
Straight.
straighter. I'll go back to the purple finch, and this is a female, and
She doesn't have the eyebrow either. The
no,
white
no,
eyebrow.
very the face is very plain, but quite streaky, but not the heavy streaking that's on the purple finch. So plain face, finer streaking. Almost looks a little bit like the purple bunting, the indigo bunting, but it's not as brown. I'll go back to the purple finch to look at the beak again because I got kind of muddled there. Oh yeah, see here, he's got the little, almost like a little angle here in the beak. Last chance for any questions, problems, concerns.
No, but I will ask you and Jess to stay on the line after. If you
Sure.
can.
Is this sort of like getting called into the principal's office?
Oh yeah, terrible, terrible.
I'm very nervous, but yeah, no problem.
Okay, Sam Vath, I got time to answer your question.
I noticed that I had seen 3 woodpeckers in less than an hour in Mud Lake. I saw
Yes.
downy, hairy, and pileated. But are there usually that many woodpeckers there?
It's a good place for woodpeckers because there's been a lot of trees die. In fact, sometimes you can get the downy woodpeckers to come to your hand for sunflower seeds. Yeah, and it's a good place for pileated woodpeckers because there's large trees. They like large trees and dying trees.
I
So
think
yeah,
I should
it's
I
pretty
think I should
common to
have
see
a-
lots of woodpeckers.
I think I have a photo somewhere here. Yeah, there it is. This was the pileated woodpecker. It wasn't that.
Yes, that's the pileated woodpecker for sure. You can see his crest. Yep. Yeah, I've often seen them there. We're going to be getting to woodpeckers in a few weeks. Oh, I should just mention we don't meet next Monday, right, Janet?
No, we don't.
Yeah, that's the
Yes.
hairy, eh?
Yeah.
No, that's the downy.
Oh, okay. It's hard to tell from the looking at your phone, but
Yeah, it has a small red part, and
yeah.
then
Yeah. Well, we'll talk
yeah,
about how
here you
to
can
tell.
see the here you can see the reddies. easier.
Yeah, they both have red, but oh, I see what you mean. It hasn't got the division. Yeah, we'll talk about how to tell them apart when we get
And
to
this is the
woodpeckers.
hairy.
Yeah, could be. It's really hard to tell from here. So we don't have a class next Monday, right? 16th?
No, we don't.
Yeah.
We do
So
not. We'll be back on the 23rd.
yeah. So and on the 23rd, the plan is to talk mostly about all about forest species. So
Cool.
we just sort of started on them tonight. Next on that week it'll be all forest species. So I'll stop sharing and I'll hang around
Okay.
because I'm in trouble.
Thanks everybody for coming tonight, and glad you were able to make it, and hope you can make it in 2 weeks. Take care.